you have been so instrumental in focusing the Democratic caucus on protecting our democracy. It was the very first bill that we filed in the House, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the provisions in the HEROES Act.
For sure. Well, Catherine, thanks for the opportunity to join you today and talk about what's good for our democracy and how we want to make sure that everybody's opportunity to vote this November is protected. We certainly made sure of that in the HEROES Act, and our leadership, beginning with Speaker Pelosi and extending to you and others on the leadership team, was 100% behind the need to put real dollars out there to election officials across the country, state and local folks who want to have a good election. I mean, they take pride in what they do. If we give them the resources, they'll deliver a good election. And we want to make sure they have those resources and that they have certain guidelines in place to help them make sure that everybody can access the ballot box in November, and do it in a way that lifts up our democracy at this very, very critical time. So the HEROES Act contains these key provisions, guidelines, as well as robust funding that can help resource election preparedness, security, infrastructure as we head into the election home stretch this fall.
And how soon do you think states would need to get this funding in order to develop robust vote from home, mail-in ballot programs?
State and local election officials need to know sooner rather than later, I would say within the next few weeks, whether these extra resources are going to be there for them, because they're already making decisions about how to expand early voting, how to expand vote by mail, how to design polling places and deploy trained poll workers that can conduct a safe election at early voting sites and on election day. These decisions have to be made from a budget standpoint very, very soon. So this is why we put it into the HEROES Act, Catherine, because we knew that these decisions are being made in real time, and that knowing those resources are available can really determine whether the election goes smoothly or we have the kind of chaos that we saw in places like Wisconsin not too long ago.
That's right. I mean, we had, unfortunately, a real life experiment already in what happens. Can you talk about two other issues? One, if we move to a mail-in program, how important is it to also have the ability to vote in person? And two, can you set the record straight on mail programs for voting and fraud?
Let me start with the second one. There's no evidence, first of all, of significant fraud when it comes to vote by mail. There's also no evidence, frankly, that it helps one party over the other. It's just a matter of making this very important option available to voters across the country. And we know from talking to our constituents, you and I do, and also looking at polls, that a broad cross-section of Americans wants to have that option. So we should give it to them. The vote by mail option is important, but it can't be the solution for everybody. We know that there are zip codes and communities across the country that have more difficulty accessing vote by mail for a variety of reasons. And we have to make sure that we're preserving significant and meaningful in-person voting opportunities in the early vote period, but also on election day. I believe that if everyone who wants to vote in this election has the opportunity to do so, we're going to be very proud of this election and the results. But we can't take that for granted. And that's why getting this funding through the HEROES Act is so, so critical.
Yeah, I am really proud of the work you've been doing and the entire caucus on making this a priority so people don't have to choose between their health and their constitutional right to vote.